2 days. It took him 2 days until he decided to jump into the press and have a little moan. And we're going to talk about it. Hello and welcome to the Goon and Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, show in which we react to the latest Arsenal news and get your thoughts in our live chat as well regarding that information. And you know, it actually frustrates me, what we're going to talk about, because I mean, yesterday, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I saw an image of Pepe on his Twitter feed. I'm just going to double check it now that I've said it. But just basically saying, like, I'm off to, or I think it was on his Instagram, saying I'm off to play for the national side. And within a day of that, out comes an article from Canal Plus about Pepe's frustrations with the lack of game time at Arsenal. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to get up the article and the quotes and go through it. Now, the article I've gone for is from the Evening Standard, from our good friend Simon Collins. I could have gone to a number of other places, but I didn't want to, effectively. So let's have a look at what he's been saying. So, my goal is to play more. Have a little more playing time, Pepe told French outlet Canal Plus. A player who wants to play is happy, and for me, I would like to play with a little more to find my smile again. There's some horrible adverts on there. He wants me to be 100% focused during the 90 minutes of the match. Afterwards, I see during the training that I'll be a substitute the following weekend, but the coach speaks to me. He also has assistants who are there for that, but it's frustration for any player to be on the bench. I'm really frustrated by that this has come out now. Like, Arsenal have just lost 3-0 to Aston Villa. We are, as a fan base, as a club, pretty much as low as we can be right now this season. This is not the time for this interview to come out, in my opinion. This is not the time for him to come out and start saying that he should be playing, because in my mind, he's not actually shown anything to say that, yes, I should be starting 100%. The only reason that he arguably should be playing is because of the lacking sort of in performance of the other players. He hasn't constituted a reason to start over anyone else. It's just because of how poor Willian has been and how kind of absent Reece Nelson has been throughout this as well, that we would think about putting Pepe in. But if we're speaking honestly, he hasn't shown enough on the pitch to say, yes, I 100% should be starting. And the thing about Pepe is that some of his performances can be really deceiving. Like, you look at the games in the Europa League. Yes, he scored against Dundalk. Great goal. Yes, he scored against Mulder. And yes, he set up a goal against Mulder. But if you take away the goal and the assist, the performance in general was not great. It really wasn't. It felt like he was playing. In fact, I'll use the words, and apologies if I misquote him, but Arsblog did a podcast of the week where we played Mulder. And they talked about Willian saying how the game felt it was kind of he was above that game, above playing against Mulder, and I kind of got that same feeling about Pepe. Is that whilst he might pop up with a goal or pop up with an assist, it's something you can easily take out of context. Is just that one instance. Do I want Pepe to play? Yes. I've gone on record several times saying that I think we need him to play more minutes, because ultimately he's a massive investment from the club, and the only way that he improves and the only way that he develops is by him playing. So this is not a video of me turning around saying I don't think Pepe should be playing. I want him to be playing, and a lot of that is down to the poor performances of people like Willian, for instance. But I also think he should be playing because of the amount of investment we've laid into him. The video, though, is me criticising why he has come out in the French press with these quotes. It's not professional. I don't like it when any player goes off on international duty and all of a sudden it becomes okay to start discussing like the reasons why he's not playing. Don't go and cry to the French media about why you're not playing. Go out there on the training pitch. Go out there when you get the minutes and really put in 110%. 110%. Because it's frustrating. And I'm sure it's frustrating for a lot of people that ultimately I don't think we've got what we kind of expected from a £72 million player. And that's not his fault that he cost that much. But ultimately that is what we've paid for him. He shouldn't be coming out into the media 2 days into the international break. Not even that, less than 2 days. And it's just frustrating. So I can see a lot of comments saying that he must be playing, and I agree with you. You're not disagreeing with what I'm saying by saying he needs to play, because I agree with you, he needs to play. What I want to get is I want to get your opinions on whether or not you feel he should be coming out in the press and saying these things. Because I'm all for him playing. All for it. I want him playing. But it's about the actual minutes on the... it's about publicly to say stuff. It really just it doesn't sit well with me at all. Alex McCarthy says this should have been kept behind closed doors between Pepe and Arteta. Once the media get hold of stories such as this, then it puts unnecessary pressure on both parties and a division begins to happen. And I can't disagree. I think, Alex, you've summed that up perfectly. And I'm looking forward to having you on the pods very soon as well in our Expert Members podcast. So, yeah, it's just, Zamir said he's taken a page out of Ozil's books. Aguna says they've obviously asked him the question. Yes, I'm sure they have asked him the question, but it doesn't mean that you have to answer. You're not inclined. If they say jump off a bridge, let's use that childhood analogy of when we're 6 years old. If you're asked to jump off a bridge, do you? No. And in football, they get media training. They get told about things that you should be talking about, what you shouldn't be talking about. And I'm sorry, but he has to have the maturity and the professionality not to speak out like this. It's just not right. It really isn't. Jamie Fitzgrade says it shows immaturity from Pepe's side and also a level of disrespect. Joseph says nothing he said was confrontational or negative. He even took responsibility from some things. Nothing wrong with it, in my opinion. Now, Joe, why I would disagree with you on this is because he has said things like, I want to get the smile back on my face by playing. It's almost like, I'm not going to say it's guilt tripping Arteta into doing it, but it stinks a bit of desperation. And whatever you think about the comments in general, the comments shouldn't exist is the point, is that they should not be out there at all. They shouldn't. And if you are going to comment, if you are going to say anything, the comments should be positive. The comments should be positive and say that I am trying my hardest. I'm doing everything I can to play, and I hope that I get picked. They're the type of comments that you should see, if any. Corey says he is the best winger we have, period. And to be honest, Corey, I agree with you. Again, this is not a video. This is not a video talking about Pepe being a bad player. This is not a video about criticising how good Pepe is. And I'm saying that several times because I don't want it to be misconstrued as this being that, because it's not. This is specifically a video about the fact that he's coming out in the media and saying something. Meme says, this is a nothing story, man. You are just a media hype man. You need your story. I'm a media hype man now. This is it. I've made it, guys. I've made it. I'm a media hype man. I've made it. This is incredible. When I quit my job to go full-time writing, I've dreamt of this day. I've got trolls. Joseph Maseka says, no, as I say with this show, whenever anyone disagrees with me, it's not a case of shutting them down. We have their responses on and we talk through that. So fair play, Joe, for responding. Now, Tom, saying he's disappointed in not playing isn't wrong. Reading too much into it, dude. Again, nothing was negative. Nothing was disrespectful. Again, I'm just saying, Joe, I don't think it's specifically about the words that he's used and that he said. It's just about the story and the comments anyway. That's the issue that I have. Richie Hartnett says, inconsistent at the best of times, but I feel he doesn't get enough chances. And Richie, I agree with you. I think that he should be playing more. I think that Willian after Fulham was really quite poor in the games after that, to be honest. And that constitutes Pepe getting more game time. And what's worse is that, if they do get a goal or assist, or if they do have a decent performance like he did against Sheffield United, he played against Sheffield United and he scored. And I believe he was dropped for the next league game. So that's what's frustrating. That's what's really frustrating. Owen Young says, we have to remember that we're dealing with translated information. Some of those comments could be taken out of context. Again, this isn't for me about the comments and what they're saying. This is about there being comments in the first place. And if there is any comments at all, it's about them not being positive. at a time when we are in a really deep hole as a club. That's what's frustrating for me. Paul Guy says, Alba has been terrible. Willian even worse, but they're guaranteed starters. I'll take Pepe's production or Nelson over what I've seen so far this season, 100%. Joe says, Tom, I can see what you're saying. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you coming on and putting your opinion across as well, mate. Always appreciated. Love putting across different points of view. Drink NACL says, FFS, Willian is one of the most valuable players we have. Give him time to settle and he will be class. You are setting yourself apart, Drink. NaCl. NaCl's is that sodium chloride? Please don't do it. I mean, don't do that. do not drink NaCl. Please. Jamie Fitzgrave says, it's on the training ground that gets you picked each week. And that's what I'm saying, is that this interview does Pepe no favours. Like, it's not going to get him into the team. And that's what frustrates me. Zachary Briggs says, simple, Willian has been poor and Pepe hasn't. No, I wouldn't say that Pepe hasn't been poor. I think he has been poor. I don't think you can say he's been good. His performances in general, if you take away, like, I know sounds really kind of like pointed saying take away the goal and the assist, but those moments of the goal and the assist in the game against Molde were very incremental moments in just like seconds of a game. But over the whole game and over the whole season, like, we haven't seen great stuff from Pepe, to be honest. Well, I mean, we've come on the show several times this season, started to get really concerned about him. So I don't think that I wouldn't say that he hasn't been poor. But he carries on, Zach, and he says, some humbling for Willian isn't a bad thing. He needs to sit a few of these out and refocus. Pepe is a competitor and spoke his mind peacefully. All good. Jimmy Max says, if it jolts Arteta into starting him, then I'm happy that he said it. And I think, Jimmy, and this isn't digging you out, it might be a little bit, but this is the thing, is that I don't like that people are willing to accept negative things if it means that a player starts or if it means that someone gets dropped. Like, that is not the mindset I feel that we should have as fans. As fans, we should be hoping to see positivity continuously. And this is why I'm so dead set against someone like Jose Mourinho being the manager of the club, is because I've always held Arsenal in such high esteem in terms of class. That has started to slip, in my opinion, in recent years, for sure. And even I put up I don't know if I was reading too much into it, and I have a habit of doing that, I'm well aware of that, but Arsenal playing Gilles tonight. In fact, let me just check to see, because it went to penalties. I don't know if you're watching playback, you'll know immediately, but it went to penalties against Gilles. Zach Medley and Trey Coyle are obviously on loan there, and just talking about kind of when Trey Coyles scored, and they've won on pens. Okay, great, they won on pens. Balogun, Moller, Cottrell, Kurjan all scored our penalties. Fantastic stuff. A Panenka from Catalan Kurjan. I don't know anything about Catalan at all. He's someone that I made me do a little bit more research in. But there was a tweet that came out on the site when Trey Coyle scored, and it was just a very generic tweet about Gilles have scored. It's Trey Coyle. No mention that Trey Coyle was actually on loan from us. And there's just, I don't know, it just, for me, lacked a little bit of class. And I think that there's something about Arsenal that recently we are lacking up those same stands that we used to, and that set us apart from quite a lot of other clubs. And just something about that is dying. And Jimmy, I'm sorry, but your comment kind of makes me feel that same way, is that we shouldn't want negative things happening if it means that we get our own way with something. And that's why I try and maintain this optimistic approach on the channel as much as feasibly possible. And that's why I'm critical of things like this when it comes out. Adefemi says Pepe's confidence is really low as at now. Same with the whole attack. Has anyone noticed that Pepe can't even dribble past defenders one-on-one this season, but his loads of talents eventually helps him? And that is something that I think is been a real problem for him, is that when he's moved in from Lille being a side that were very good at hitting on the counter-attack, very good at hitting the opposition where it hurts when they're not in possession, and then they can flip it very quickly, whereas Arsenal are in possession a lot of the time. And when they're in possession, the opposition are typically sat 10, 11 men behind the ball, and we've got to break them down. And Pepe kind of really struggles breaking that play down. He's got a couple of tricks and flicks and skills, but it's very rare that he actually kind of like uses those tricks and beats a man. He only usually beats his man when he's in a foot race. But when he's like in the final third of the pitch with the ball in front of him stopped and there's a defender standing him up, getting round that player is, for him, really quite difficult. Victor says, Pepe said nothing negative. Arteta selectively criticises him, yet he says nothing about Laka or Willian's bad performances, but always calling out Pepe. Interesting, Victor. I've not seen what you're mentioning about Pepe personally. Feel free to tweet me at the Goon Talk TV if you find it and let me know. And as I say again, it's not about what was said and whether it's negative or positive. It isn't positive, that's for sure. But it's about there being comments at all. That's what I take the issue with. Ross Monger says, Arteta is too controlling, barking orders constantly from the touchline. The players look scared to try something individually. You know what's really funny about this comment, Russ, is that when Arsene Wenger was manager, how many of us just cried out constantly for him to get up and do something? And now we've got a coach that does get up and does speak to the players and does coach them from the sidelines, which is the same as what Pep Guardiola and all the top managers do across Jurgen Klopp, etc. They're all up, they're all coaching from the touchline, and we all moaned about the fact that Arsene Wenger never did that, and now we're turning around and saying it's too much. It's just the life of an Arsenal fan, isn't it? It's just the life of an Arsenal fan. Avinash Singh says, well, it's about time someone questions Arteta, and Pepe hasn't really done that. He's just frustrated, and he should be. He should be frustrated. You're right. I just think he should keep it behind closed doors. Danny GFP, thank you for joining us in the chat box, mate. Make sure people are checking out Bergkamp Wonderland. I might embarrass myself here, and Danny will tell me off, but I'll be on the channel soon, couple of weeks, and I'll be joining them. So yeah, that should be fun. Matt Willock, the elder brother of the Willock boys, played for Gills tonight. Yeah, he's been there a little bit at Gills. Yeah, I've seen him play, and I believe he's a fullback, I think, from the best of my knowledge. But yeah, interesting. And obviously, he didn't get the goal, or didn't rather get the win for them tonight. But it's good that Arsenal go through, obviously. JRDS. I'm sure there's some sort of play on that number that I'm just missing. He says Pepe hasn't even been able to play 5 games in a row for us since signing. So how was he meant to get any form? He needs certain things coached out of his game, though. Agreed. And the thing is that I've said this throughout the whole video, and I know I'm repeating myself over and over, but the fact is that he needs minutes. He does need to play. He does need to be given more opportunities, but he has to still, in my opinion, earn those minutes, even though I think he should be playing. And they're earned by what happens on the training pitch, and it's earned by what happens when you play, and it's not earned by comments in the media. I know I'm going to come off like the complete villain in this video, but anyway, it's about opinions, isn't it? George, sorry, George, my apologies. It's your Xbox GT name. Sorry, mate. Danny says, Tom is coming home. Yes, I will be back at ABW very, very soon. Looking forward to it. Ryan Adams says, Pepe just isn't a Premier League player. And Ryan, I think you've hit the nail on the head in certain ways. He doesn't really suit the Prem as much as he suited like Liga. And I'm not talking about that in terms of quality either, because I still think there's a real quality player there. I think he showed that in Liga, and there's a lot of quality players in Liga. But it's just the style of the leagues, and attack a lot more, especially playing for like Lille, for instance, that you can counter-attack a lot more. So yeah, I think he suits that kind of play style rather than the dominant side of things that we have. Richie says Pepe has an important trait that we lack at the moment, and that's when he's playing poor. If he gets a chance, he will score. And Richie, that is a very important point. When you look at players like Lacazette, completely out of confidence, completely out of form, and when a chance falls to him, he's not burying it. Pepe, as you said there, Richie, spot on. When he does get those chances, he has I have a lot more faith in him to take those chances. So yeah, that's where my head would sit on that one. Colin, good to have you in the chat, mate. Make sure you're checking out Colin's stuff. He says Pepe does need a string of games, but when you make backhanded comments in the media, it doesn't do him any favours. It might be going a little bit far to say backhanded, but I just think it's just one of those where I agree with you in terms of it's what he needs to do in terms of the play that makes the difference. But yeah, it's something that he needs to work on, and making sure he's more consistent and in the way he's been able to break down players. I do think that we need to kind of play him differently. I'd like to be him more central. I'd like Arsenal to try a 4-4-2 with Aubameyang and Pepe in kind of a front tandem, because Pepe's goals, as we talked about it yesterday, and when I was doing the podcast with Kian and Drew and Raf, and we talked about this, that the most of Pepe's best chances have come from more central positions on the pitch, and maybe that's something that we need to look at. I know that he likes to cut inside a lot, and that creates that space in the middle, but still, I would like to see those opportunities happen a bit more. That is going to be the end of today's show. So to just kind of round off, just to summarise, this is not a video criticising Pepe about his quality. This is a video concerned about the fact that he's come out in the media just 2 days into an international break to talk about Arteta. I know that he was questioned on it by a medium, but in my opinion, you don't have to speak out. This is a moment where Arsenal are really hitting a low right now. Really are hitting a low, and we just kind of need to maintain as much positivity as possible. And I just don't think when players go away to international break and then start speaking out against their clubs like we've seen with other players like Paul Pogba has done in the past, it's just not healthy. And I'd rather see us as a team trying to support as possible. So there you go. Anyway, don't worry, there's going to be loads of content over the international break, because I know how much it frustrates people that Arsenal isn't around, but we're going to be around. Got a few things planned. We've got a tactical breakdown podcast with Drew talking about kind of chance creation, looking at striking positions, the differences between Aubameyang and Lacazette playing in that striking role. We've got a book review coming up with John Driscoll, who you will know has been on the channel a few times talking about Thomas Partey. He's the host of La Liga Weekly, the podcast that used to be with Sky Sports, and now it's his independent thing. He's also a Sky Sports commentator and commentator on football in general. And he's written a book about the 50 most influential players of all time. And we're going to have a chat with John about his book. And there is an interesting Arsenal choice in there that we're going to be talking in depth about for sure. So that's going to be around. We've got a couple of expert members podcasts as well coming up. I've already kind of scheduled in on Thursday, I believe it's going to be, unless things change and I've missed it in the Discord. There's going to be the expert members podcast on Thursday, which I'm looking forward to. And speaking of which, a massive thank you to all of the members that continue to sign up and help the channel. Really appreciate your support. I'm just going to click on to the studio just to see if anyone else has signed up when I've been away and I've completely missed it, which does happen. And there has. Paul Murphy. Thank you so much, Paul, for signing up as a member. Thank you to Cecilia Sengore. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that as well. And that guy D as well signed up too. So thank you so much, guys. You've been absolute legends. Thank you to our TGT ambassadors, you absolute legends, and of course our TGT expert members. Thank you so much, people, for tuning in as always. Oh, last thing, if you're into FIFA, which I know a few of you are into FIFA, I did an interview with Derek Ray, who is the commentator on FIFA currently. It's over on 101. I have retweeted it on the Gonna Talk TV Twitter account, so make sure you go and check that out. We talked about the Bundesliga because he works for ESPN, sort of covering the Bundesliga, and we talked about FIFA. So it's a really good in-depth interview, so if you'd like to check that out, it is available for you to go and check out. But other than that, continue to help supporting the channel. Please make sure you drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and as always, up the Arsenal.